get to the bag, ayy. Got the foot on the gas, pedal to the metal when the lane moving fast, ayy. Ayy, let them all cross. If they hate, then let them hate and make a bigger boss, ayy.
This episode is brought to you by SPI Logistics, the premier freight agent logistics firm in North America. For over 40 years, SPI has been diligently building the most successful freight agent network to provide first-class relationships for our shippers, receivers, and carrier partners. We are more than another transportation network. We are a dedicated team of professionals united by one singular purpose, and that is to expedite our agents' success. All of our agents are set up for success on day one, as they are provided with a full suite of support staff that is ready to assist them with everything from after-hours emergencies to financial and administrative needs on a no-fee basis. This way, you can focus on continuing to grow your business. There is no financial risk to start, and you have the ability to earn up to 75% in commissions. If you are looking to take control of your financial future and build your business with the backing of one of the most successful logistics firms in North America, visit www.spi3pl.com to learn more. Do me a favor and let them know that the Freight Coach sent you. Hey guys, before we jump in, this episode is brought to you by the Transportation Intermediaries Association, the only trade association exclusively representing the 3PL industry. We talk about risk management every single week on this show. Chameleon carriers, strategic theft, brokers are under a microscope like never before. This is why you need the TIA in your corner. The TIA isn't just about networking. They provide a powerful voice in Washington, the best legal frameworks in the business, and a community that holds the line on ethics and excellence, not to mention valuable certifications. They do the work so you can scale securely and with confidence. The Transportation Intermediaries Association, connecting freight, powering the supply chain. Don't operate on an island. Join the elite. Go to tianet.org and let them know that the Freight Coach sent you. What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back. We are live. It is the Freight Coach Podcast, the top podcast in transportation, coming to you guys every single weekday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central, to break down some industry headlines. But most importantly, you guys provide some actual insight into what you can do with all of this information. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. This is the real side of freight, ladies and gentlemen. And I do say that before every single show. And what I mean by that is I only speak with transportation professionals, because at the end of the day, I want to talk to the right individuals who have done what you're looking to do or who are currently doing what you're trying to achieve. So you can take that information, apply it, utilize it, and see a meaningful difference in your business and your life. Happy Friday, everybody. I got a very special guest for you guys. I'm going to bring him up here in a second. We're going to be talking about fuel cards, fuel programs, and like how smaller operators can buy with that mega fleet buying power out there. I know fuel is obviously one of the biggest expenses any trucking company incurs out there. So we're going to break down a couple of options for you guys to look into today. But before we do that, you guys, we've got to jump into This Week in Freight, powered by my friends over at DAT. We do this 3 times a week, you guys. This is 100% viewer submitted. So if you want your lanes broken down on the show, I just need you to email my team, podcast@thefreightcoach.com. We do drive-in, reefer, flatbed, 3 times a week. And all I'm here to do is to help you guys actually how I personally assess freight markets when I'm going out there and bidding on freight for my customers. So that being said, you guys, we're doing flatbed today. I got Salt Lake City, Utah, going down to Los Angeles, California. Now, with a lot of things, you guys, there are a lot of lanes have started to stabilize, right? Contrary to what you might be seeing out there from a pricing perspective, it's stabilized. We move a lot of freight into Salt Lake City. I know what we paid going in there, and we hear from our carriers all the time that, it's kind of iffy getting out of Salt Lake, which it always has been throughout the entirety of my career. But rates have matched that, right? Because the outbound Salt Lake used to be like it used to be very hard to cover freight going into Salt Lake because rates coming out of it were so low. And I'm not here to argue what's cheap freight or what's not cheap freight. But if we're looking at how this lane is performing right now, it's solid. All right. It's solid outbound going into a very great market, which is the Los Angeles market. There is never a shortage of opportunity coming out of there. But again, if we're looking at these last 90 days, you guys, things have very much like there's a spike out here. We all know what happened with the 4th of July. And like I was talking about, you guys, there's going to naturally be a spike around that, the holiday upcharge, and it could last a week or two, or it could fall flat just a couple of days after. But we're looking at the 90-day cycle here, and that's what I look for, that stabilization point. So when we're looking at these numbers on this chart here, you guys, it is stable, all right? Contrary to what you're seeing out there, it has stabilized. So that is where our value comes as a transportation provider when we're going to our customers and our prospects on how we separate ourselves from everybody else. A lot of people like to sell on chaos. They like to sell on instability. I take the opposite approach. Maybe I'm wrong, but my customers seem to appreciate when we're bringing them actual tangible advice on what's going on in the market and holding firm for them, right? Like, I don't know any CFO who wants to see their freight spend just go look like a friggin' roller coaster out there. And that is your main opportunity, I think, right now, is to bring that stability into your customers. Because, again, depending on how fuel continues to trend, which it is trending down out there right now, rates, I think, are going to probably hover around this for the foreseeable future, at least through the summer months. I mean, we're going to be hitting some peak markets here in other modes, but primarily this is peak flatbed season right now. It's going to remain this way through October for the most part. And then things start to taper off around late October, early November on the flatbed market. But this one, again, outbound Salt Lake is one of those tricky markets in the sense of like, it kind of depends on where it's going, on what you're going to see from a pricing standpoint. But overall, right now, if we're just looking at it from the bare bones metrics of it, this is one of those markets that has stabilized out there, as has a lot of these lanes that I've been breaking down. And then furthermore, if we're looking at it, this is a great Monday through Thursday for that kind of next day delivery thing. Friday to Monday is going to be a little bit more expensive. But again, if you're out there working the markets and you're finding those carriers who run these lanes, often you're going to have no problem finding somebody who lives out of Vegas that runs SoCal up to Utah. There's a ton of carriers who run this region. How do I know? I actually move freight, and I actually move this trailer type on this lane. All right. So there's plenty of capacity that it's out here to do this and find that stability out there. That is my lane analysis for Salt Lake City down to Los Angeles, California for our flatbed. Again, you guys, this is This Week in Freight, powered by my friends over at DAT. And again, if you want to get in on this, you guys, email my team, podcast@thefreightcoach.com. Now, let's talk some fuel card programs. Let's talk about all this fun stuff. I'm really looking forward to having this guy on the show today, you guys. So with that being said, I'd like to welcome Mr. Josh Thomas onto the show. So Josh, thank you so much for taking the time to join me here today.
Yeah, no, thanks so much for having me on. I really appreciate it. I've been excited about it for a while, so very much looking forward to it.
No, man, especially, that Midwest connection. I was born and raised in Wisconsin. So anytime anybody from the Midwest wants to jump on, I have just like an instant bring it on, man, because that, to me, that is trucking. That is where it originates. It's just in that Midwest region, man.
We're right in the heartbeat of everything, in the heart of America, man. So it's nice to connect with a Midwest guy and have that sort of Midwest feel to going about how we look at the industry overall, for sure. I agree.
No, man. So, hey, I always like to start that. This is your first time on the show. How'd you get your start in freight? What brought you into the transportation industry?
Great question. So I went to college at Missouri State University down here in Springfield, Missouri. And really my first job out of college was at J.B. Hunt. And I was a freight broker there, excuse me, for about a year and a half. And then had another job between my time there and at Prime Inc. And I've been at Prime Inc. Now for about 14 years. And really that's how I got into it. I had such an interest for logistics overall in college and obviously soon after that. So I wanted to be involved in some capacity with that. And the people that you get to work with in this industry is really what kind of shines out for me the most. Getting to build relationships with we talk about the heart of America. I think the true heartbeat of our economy is truck drivers. We don't really have an economy, or we don't have goods and things like that we can supply to the overall economy without truck drivers getting things from point A to point B. And it is the most challenging job that you can have in the U.S., in my opinion. And you get to connect with some of the best people in the U.S. whenever you get into trucking and transportation. So that's really what had kind of gotten me into trucking overall. And I'm fortunate to say that I'm still in it, and I plan to continue doing it going forward, just because of the people that I get to work with every day.
So is Prime the largest private carrier in the United States?
We are the largest refrigerated carrier in the United States. That is correct.
Okay. That's what, yeah. Cause now is the founder, cause I as much as I'm on the internet, I don't trust the internet, and I always like to fact check, especially with somebody who works here. Is the founder still involved in the organization right now?
much so. Yeah. So Robert Lowe founded and began Prime. Actually started back in Urbana, Missouri, but now in Springfield, Missouri, and he's still very much involved to this day. He is in the office every single day. He connects with his team every single day, and is one of the most humble and solid people I've ever had the pleasure of getting to know and work with in my entire life, to be completely honest. But yeah, he's still very much involved, and the company is still very, very much family owned and operated.
Now, I don't know, there might be some other carriers out there that have a fuel program or a fuel card like this for others to utilize. Was that kind of the main driving? Like, I don't know, as a founder who's building my own company, you see it like there's just a deeper connection with it. So was that kind of like the driving force behind it and bringing cost savings like this out there to the smaller fleets? Was that one of those initiatives out there that he started and built this company up? He knows what the P&Ls are like for the smaller fleets and to getting them up there. And is it like one of those things where it's like, hey, let's help offset some of those costs? Because I mean, fuel is one of the biggest expenses that are out there, and it's a variable expense as well, right? It just, depending on the markets that you're running and everything, it's not a fixed cost by any stretch.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. And we started this back about 4.5 years ago, is when Prime Inc. Advantage Plus had began. And essentially it was exactly that. Costs overall, just operational costs for a trucking company, are insane. And, we're coming at this from the perspective of the largest refrigerated trucking company in the U.S. And in my opinion, the most well-ran and efficient ran company in the U.S. As far as our metrics go compared to some of our competitors. And so we wanted to have something that was a service, in this case, a fuel card, along with fire discounts, maintenance discounts, and anything that can help the trucking company run as efficiently as possible with the buying power of a large trucking company such as ours. Because we know that there are plenty of other competitors that are out there that they do have a fuel card and they have fuel discounts, but they can restrict a lot of different trucking companies with minimums or with fees, or essentially pigeonhole them into some different things that are not the best thing for the end user, which is the operator of the truck driver. And so that's really why this program began, so that way we can provide a service that was going to be the most efficient from a cost perspective and the best thing for the end user when it comes to cost, and when it comes to something that's going to help their bottom line overall.
So how does something like this work, right? Like, again, like I always like to say, I'm not a truck driver. I don't own trucks. So I like to just put that caveat out there. But again, I've been around this industry my entire life. And, so it's like, how does somebody, whether they might have 2 trucks or 8 trucks, how do they get in contact with you? And what does that like beginning process look like for them?
Yeah, so we have our website. It's primeadvantageplus.com, and that's going to give you all the information with our program that you would need. And there is a simple button there that you can click on to go ahead and apply. It does. You have the chance to either go completely through the application process, which we're a fuel card powered by our partners at Comdata. And so you can finish the application process to have an actual account through Comdata, which is a Prime Inc. Advantage Plus account. Or you can just fill out a simple inquiry form that just displays it's your first and last name, your business name, and your phone number. And that's going to connect with me or one of our sales team members that will allow us to reach out to that individual to introduce ourselves, to discuss the program and what sort of value points it can bring to that person individual. And I also, I don't know if this is a Midwestern thing or just a personal thing, but I give out my cell phone more than I give out anything else. And so if I ever get to connect and have the pleasure with connecting with people, I beg them to call my cell phone or text me at night, because I know it's typically the best way that you can connect with people overall. So either one of those options are typically going to be the best way to get a hold of us.
I'm right there with you, man, with the Midwest thing. I probably give out my cell phone way more than I probably should at this point. But, it is one of those things, man, where it's like, I'd rather have somebody text me or call me than, shoot me a message on like social media and stuff, because like I'm not on there all the time, hence I have a day job that I'm doing out there. But, I look at with where fuel price, like if we look at these last 90 days in particular, Josh, where, well, it's probably even longer than that now, because I think a lot of it spiked up around March and stuff like that. If we're looking at this time frame, I mean, how much of a price difference are we looking at compared, like utilizing a fuel program like the Prime Advantage one that you're describing here for these smaller fleets, as opposed to just going out there and being at the mercy for the price that's at the pump of wherever they're at across the country?
Yeah, it's critical that you have something that essentially optimizes what you're spending on fuel. Because like you just said, the fuel prices have been fluctuating so aggressively over the last 90 to 130 days. I mean, it's been kind of crazy. And for even just a solo operator, I mean, even just a few trucks, even a penny a gallon or a couple pennies a gallon, or even obviously you can get as high as 15 to 20 cents a gallon, is thousands of dollars for the end user. And sometimes it's not as prominent of a thought whenever you're thinking, whenever you're dialing it down to such a minute detail like a penny a gallon. But sometimes whenever you do that over the consumption of, let's say, 5,000-10,000 gallons a week or a month, that stuff adds up so significantly. And in addition to that, the beauty of our fuel card is we're partnered with so many different fuel merchants. And so while we are our biggest fuel merchant being TA Petro is our largest fuel merchant that's out there, and a lot of people do love that, we have so many different other fuel merchants on our program that are considered to be not necessarily mom and pop, but smaller chains in general, that are a little bit more aggressive on the retail price when it comes to fuel. And so our card essentially is something that allows people to have choices and essentially reduce their overall fuel expenses as much as possible, because we have so many different fuel merchants partnered with our fuel card. And we also have the no minimums and the no fees that go with that. And so again, it goes right back to giving these people, the truck drivers, the options of where they can go to truly reduce their fuel expenses and optimize their fuel spending, so that way they can run as efficiently as they possibly can, especially in sometimes when a freight market like that has been the last few years is not as friendly to the end user, like we've seen.
Yeah. So like with some of our carriers though, what it was, like as soon as fuel prices spiked up, like they condensed their operating region right away to stop the bleed, because like fuel prices out west here were exponentially more expensive in the Midwest, and they were burning through their lines of credit. So it's like they're working with their bank, they're working with their fuel card, they're just trying to do anything to stay in business. So it's like, how are you guys bypassing that typical credit trap out there that kind of stops people from being able to move their trucks?
Yeah, no, it's been something we've been battling ourselves for a while, but we do have solutions up front. Right out of the gate, our team will connect with our customer base to essentially help reduce their overall fuel expenses and optimize their fuel spending to essentially help with that. But we're partnered with Comdata, as I've said, and so there are a number of things that they can do to help rectify that. Whether that be a temporary credit line that we can have established for these different customers or these different situations. If they're on like an automatic ACH and they're running up against some problems, we can have something put together to essentially gives them credit temporarily until their next ACH goes through. We also have connections with them that can help give them larger credit increases if they do need something like that. There are notifications that are sent out if a customer is getting within usually right around 75% of their overall credit limit. So that way it kind of catches these moments before they come to the point where the cards are just stopping to work because they burnt through an entire credit line. So in addition to the things that we do up front to try and help reduce overall fuel expenses, because fuel prices are so rampant and they do fluctuate as aggressively as they do. We've got a lot of things that are in place with our Comdata partners that can essentially provide people with a large number of resources that they need. So that way they can make sure that any instances in which that does happen, we catch it and we have a solution for it more quickly. So that way people are able to operate as efficiently as they possibly can, despite some of those different problems and things.
Are you, does it go further than just, like, because I look at it, a lot of drivers out there might, they might not know what's the most efficient way to, I'm like when it comes to like idling your truck and running at a certain mile per hour? Like, does it go deeper than just your prototypical things? Are you guys offering, any insights on what you guys might do at Prime, with your guys' actual trucks? Like, hey, this is how we have found to reduce our overall diesel usage out there.
Yeah. Yeah, no, we do. So our mobile app actually has a tool. It's the fuel and route optimizer, and our entire fleet uses exactly that. It's a Manhattan product, and it uses AI. There's like 160 different variable metrics that it takes into account, like, predictive pricing being one of them, IFTA taxing, tolls, out of route miles, just overall cost of fuel for that particular fuel merchant. And essentially, all you have to do is input your origin and your destination, along with a few different items in regards to the fuel capacity on your truck and miles per gallon and things like that. And it will tell you exactly where to go get fuel and how much fuel to get based on all of those different variable metrics that I just discussed. And so that's one way that really helps combat those sort of things. And fuel economy also is a big thing. Our company has done so much research, and it's always kind of a joke when some people are like, "Oh, I see a Prime truck all the time, and I'm usually passing on the highway because you guys always go slower." And we do that for a reason. Safety obviously is primary. It's number one for us. We want to keep our operators and also just citizens on the highway as safe as possible. But also fuel economy. You save thousands of dollars if you can keep your truck between 50 and 55, 60 or 65 miles an hour. If you see a truck that's usually trying to burn down the highway going a lot faster than that, they might think, well, I'm getting to my next delivery quicker, I'm going to end up picking my next load up faster, and it's going to add to my weekly check. But you're burning so much more fuel when you do that. And so there are different things that we will share with our customers from our trucking company's perspective, exactly why we do certain things and how you can really run and operate your vehicle going down the roads. That way you're reducing your expenses as much as you possibly can.
So, it's like if you couple that, and I mean, obviously you guys it's very well advertised, but your zero fee blueprint out there, right? Because I look at it from a business owner's perspective. Like, very rarely, Josh, is it like one big thing that bleeds your company out, because it's like a lot of the big costs you stop to think about, right? Or it's like, hey, this is $2,000 a month. You're like, wait a second, let's talk about this. But
right,
this is $8 a month. You're like, just let it go through. But like, those are the fees that add up over time. And it's like, I was just talking about this on the show yesterday, where it's like, I look at my P&L on a monthly basis, but on a quarterly basis, I'm cutting through it like a fine tooth comb, and I'm going to my team. Hey, this software that we're paying for, are we using it? What percentage of our day are we using it? Because again, those little things add up, and before you know it, it's $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 a year against your P&L for software you might not even be using, or bank fees and stuff like that. So how are you guys able to offer that zero fee thing out there to your guys' users?
Yeah, that's a great question, and everything lines up perfectly with how you can make sure that you're surviving, those nasty 3 years that we just went through on the freight, side of as far as the overall market goes. But really, it's just something that we negotiated with our comm data partners. We have the product and the expertise and the connections from our trucking company's perspective, and that being the largest refrigerated company in the U.S. So it's just something we pre-negotiated because we truly understand the different value points that some of those things that you were mentioning really mean for an owner operator or a small fleet of any kind, because those people are so focused on driving down the road or booking their loads for that particular week or putting out whatever fires that they are every single day. So the last thing that they really, A, have time to think about, or B, even want to think about, are those little things that can truly eat away at your bottom line. And so those are the things that we just determined out of the gate. We can't let people focus on those kinds of things. We've got to truly provide them with a fuel card that is the best thing for the end user. And that's going to be without fees. It's going to be without minimums. It's going to be something that allows them to truly find the best possible price of fuel with our large fuel network. So that way they can essentially have a choice on where the best place to go would be from a cost perspective or whatever perspective is best for that particular company.
So, you were also talking about like maintenance and tires and stuff like that is all a part of this fuel card program. And there's seemingly those are all separate out there. Again, I working on the brokerage side of things, I'm not privy to a lot of this information, but interviewing a lot of trucking company owners, interviewing a lot of people on the fleet tech side of things here, it's seemingly those are all separate programs, right? Where it's like this one's a maintenance app, this one's a fuel app. And it's like, what was the main driving force to kind of have all of that in one, like a one-stop shop thing? Because that, from an efficiency standpoint, that seems like the best bang for your buck at that point.
Yeah, no, and that's exactly, you know, what, like I was mentioning before, so many companies out there have so many things to worry about every week, whether it be, again, driving down the road themselves or booking their, you know, week's worth of business or maintenance or drivers or anything like that. It's the industry has so many different things that can bring stresses and more urgent needs to a trucking company or to a dispatcher or whoever. And so for us, it goes back to what's the product that's going to be the best for the end user, and that's going to be not only the culmination of fuel merchant locations that we have and the, you know, the amount of locations that we do have with the no fees and best discounts that we can possibly provide, but also having things like tire discounts with Michelin, BF Goodrich, and Goodyear that we have, and material discounts at that. And in addition to that, maintenance discounts with Bosch Shops and Bauer Built and all and TA and all the different fuel merchants that we do have on our networks. And it's really the same kind of thing I mentioned before of just providing the best possible thing you can, so that way they can have all of their solutions with one fuel card. You know, they don't have to have an account with this person and then another account with that person just to get all these different things, because it can just be taxing and time consuming to have to manage all that. Let's just get one thing that has all these different things put together, and there's no cost that goes with it in any capacity.
What are you guys doing in regards to like fraud, right? Like I've personally had my credit card number stolen at a fuel pump before in the past, you know, and it's so how are you guys really attacking that right now to ensure that your guys' users' information is safe out there?
Yeah, fraud is so rampant. It's been even worse over the last year. And it really goes back to our partnership that we have with Comdata. You know, they have a very sophisticated platform with fraud prevention. They have a fraud and securities team established that will catch those things even at the location level. And so if there are instances in which just like a typical credit card, if it seems like it's a fraudulent purchase based on a lot of different variable metrics that seem to, you know, flag as fraudulent for them, they will send out an email or a text notification to whomever is on file to say, hey, is this you? And if it is, obviously, you know, you can reply back and then they can allow the transaction to go through. But in addition to that, we have a fuel, and it's essentially fuel proximity is what it's called. And it essentially will tie your unit's ELD, I should say, with a fuel pump. And if that ELD that is within your actual business is not within so many miles of a fuel pump or the fuel pump that your card is at, then the card's just not going to work. And so we have actually a fixed price through Advantage Plus, and it's only $2 per truck a month to essentially guarantee that your fraud will be completely eliminated. And if there is a moment where fraud does happen, you know, it wouldn't be very often in those settings, because again, it connects your ELD with the fuel pump. Then Comdata will make sure that it's reimbursed, and then they will do the work on the back end to make sure you're not having to be held up with $1,000 bill or $2,000 bill on whatever purchase it was. So we've got a variety of things that we can do to help from a fraud prevention perspective, because I think everybody at this point knows it's one of the most important things you got to be cognizant of for sure.
Is there, so, you know, if we're looking at that, then like, you know, as somebody, you know, again, I'm old enough to where like I've gone through some life here. How are you guys ensuring, like, if say there is actual fraud on the account, is it like a new numbers issued immediately? You know, like, is there a way to get it to where there's no gap in service for them? And especially, you know, if it's a small, you know, couple truck operation, drivers are they might not have a central office. Are you guys sending it directly to the driver? Is it a digital component at that point? How do you guys work through those situations?
And are you talking about like when a notification of fraud has been sent out? Is that correct? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah. So like, say like there's actual fraud. The person's like, no, dude, that's not me. My number's been stolen. How do you guys stop the, you know, like how does the user gain access to their account still? You know, and because like normally like they freeze your account and they shut everything down. But, you know, say that person's 3 states over and they're like, I'm pulling up to a fuel pump right now, man. How am I going to get my fuel?
Yeah. No, we have the ability to add different admin users on the account. And so like if there was only, in a typical sense, one admin user being the main dispatcher or the owner of the company, that would be notified via email if it's like, hey, it's, midnight and we sent an email out to this person. So that way they can, we can verify if this is fraudulent or not. We can add different admin users within the account to say, hey, we need notification for this card to go to this person. And if there is fraud going on, or I guess if there is something where you suspect that there's fraud going on, notify this person so that way they can verify whether or not that's the case. And obviously, if it's not, then that person that we had set up can reply and say, hey, no, that's me. I need to get fuel. And then they would allow the card to be open and ready for use after that. So yeah, there are different ways that we can go about navigating to ensure that you're not going to have a driver that's just sitting out on the road at midnight, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, and then they just can't get fuel. We've got some different ways that we can help manage around that for sure.
No, for sure. That's like that's always one of those things that come to my mind with a lot of this stuff, right? Like, I wish everything happened 9 to 5, Josh, when there was somebody out there and stuff like that, but it never does, right?
No, 24/7 industry. So you got to manage, you got to be able to navigate around exactly that, because there's always problems going on every second of the day for sure.
No, that's it. And, it's like, I love everything about this program, right? Because, there's a lot, I think about guys like my old man who, they wanted to go out there and do it on their own. And there is so many hurdles that every business owner has to go through. You guys at the size that you are, you guys have your problems as well. You guys have your hurdles as well. But it's like that path to profitability is so challenging for so many small companies that are out there. And if you're looking at maintenance perspective, fuel, tires, all of that stuff, that eats in to your profits right away. And it's like these little things like that, these little tweaks to the smaller trucking companies' operations is what keeps them in business, right? And then, lowering their overhead in any way they possibly can to, maybe they can trade in their trucks sooner and keep a newer fleet running down the road and everything else that comes along with it. So it's like, I love this. I love that you guys are taking this at the company, like the size that you guys are, and then bringing a program out there to help the smaller operators that there is. And again, I don't have access to everything out there, but I've never heard of this style of program from somebody, of your guys' size to help benefit the smaller guys.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I appreciate that. And that really, it goes back to really why we began doing it in the first place, because we know how hard it is to run a trucking company, man. Just like everybody at this point in this industry, the market has been gruesome for 3 years now, and we've seen so many different good people and good businesses go out of business that we thought would never happen, and that happens. This industry it fluctuates so aggressively at times that if you're not truly trying to figure out and find the ways to most optimally and efficiently run your company, whether that be from a fuel spending or equipment or maintenance or tires or anything like that, you can put yourself in a position where all those different things just add up and they eat away at your profitability without even realizing it. So yeah, we really just wanted to find something that was going to be doing those things for the end user and coming at it from the perspective of a trucking company that knows very well how hard it is to run a trucking company. And, instead of some of our competitors that are financial institutes or banks that just don't truly understand the operating challenges that come with having a trucking company in general.
No, man, I couldn't agree more. Josh, I appreciate your time today. How does anybody reach out to you guys to find out more about what you got going on?
So our website, primeadvantageplus.com, is going to be the best source of information for us. There are apply now buttons on our website if you'd like to go ahead and apply for an account that we have to get a Prime Advantage Plus fuel card. We also have with that button as well an inquiry form that allows you to just put in your general information, first name, last name, phone number, email address, and we can have one of our fuel advocates or sales team members reach out to introduce ourselves and just see if it's a card that we can, that can add value to your business. That would be the best way to do it.
No, I love it. Josh, thank you so much. If you guys can't find Josh or Prime Advantage out there, hit me up. I will gladly put you guys in contact with them. But that is going to be it for today, ladies and gentlemen. As always, if you got value in what you heard and you're not subscribed, subscribe to the show, you guys. And if you're feeling ambitious, rank that show on iTunes and Spotify, because if you see value, your network's going to see it as well. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys, and we'll be talking to you soon.
Came back with a bang, window down, yelling